The original film, which I photographed in the fall of 1983, was Hollywoodized by me. I was in charge of the film. I required that the protagonist live at the end, that there be a happily living ever after. And in every way, I changed the story that Stephen King had written. I used the peripheries and the set pieces and the children of his story, and I moved around my chessboard and in my sandbox, and I had them play an entirely different scenario than the one that the writer had written. It was a very successful and effective piece. We made a great deal of money with it, and it became a so-called cult classic. This film, it's my intention to remake in the spirit of what Stephen King had originally written. A story about two people at the bitter end of a terrible marriage who'd like to see each other dead. And they encounter the children of Gatlin, Nebraska. And the children of Gatlin, Nebraska, well, they have religion. And it's a terrible religion that they have. They have terrible principles in their religion. They have religion that's being used as a means to a terrible end. And it's a religion unlike a religion that should exist anywhere on earth. I was brought to remake this because I was seeing religions that exist on earth right now that mirror the story that King was telling. And I thought that the genre of horror, which is very popular, would be a very effective way to make the point of how wrong people are acting on earth right now. In the original film, I was principally happy that I got it made. It was the second film that I had produced on my own. I had originally been taught how to produce films by my mentor, Sandy Howard, who passed away just this year. And I had done my first picture, Angel, under the tutelage of Sandy. With his guidance, he was my executive producer. And this was really the first picture I got to do out on my own, and I got to make a lot of decisions, including having the protagonist live happily ever after at the end. At the time, I was quite happy with every one of my decisions. As time went on, I became growingly unhappy with most of my decisions. I found that the script that Stephen King had written was the better script than the script we used. The novella that he had written was the better story than the story we had told. And I had a desire, as every year passed, to tell his story rather than our Hollywoodized version of his story. His story fundamentally challenges the enormity of evil, religious zealotry, and the consequence of following a dogmatic belief with a blind faith. And as I saw the escalations in the Middle East and the religious wars in the Middle East, it became very clear to me that what King had written originally needed to be told, and needed to be told the right way. For him to take the story of an 8-year-old boy and have a group of people who happen to be children follow him in his every word, as if what he was saying came from the mouth of God himself to him, and to be told to do the most dastardly and evil things because they simply believed it was true. That, in my mind, mirrored exactly what the problems of the current world is today, with the religious extremism and the challenges that our international society faces because of religious extremists who use violence as a means to an end. So I thought it'd be very important to tell this story again, because the horror in the story comes from just that, the misuse of religious zealots, of violence as a means to an end. And when King writes in his piece, you can get from the theme of it that there is no reward on earth for a good person. And if a good person needs to be rewarded for what they do on earth, it's not going to happen. You have to be good because you're good. You can't look for instant gratification to be good. And if evil is so enormous that it can't be vanquished here on earth, this this is the challenge that we face. This is the underlying tenet of what makes a horror film horrific. And this is the reason why I want to remake the film, so that I can show, as a protagonist faces an enormous challenge by evil itself, with no particular way to conquer it, that they must simply be good. And to the extent that they fail doing that, then they fail. But there cannot be a reward for being evil.
Look up at Isaac. Look back.
When Stephen King saw the original production, I heard what his response was by looking at one of the morning talk shows that he was on. And what a gracious man he was to, instead of trash the film and reveal the core and detail of his actual opinion, he simply, professionally, and eloquently said something along the lines of, "I'm sure these filmmakers will go on to do some good work in the future." And it really rang a bell with me. I knew from that what his opinion of this was. I made it a point after I completed the script to contact Stephen King and to make a copy available to him. I was saddened in my heart to get a response from his attorney that Mr. King would not be reading my screenplay and would not be participating in the production. I hope that Mr. King watches this film. I hope he sees that it was our agenda to tell his original story essentially as he wanted it told. And I'm very excited to find out what his opinion of it is going to be.
Okay, cool.
Thank you, thank you,
Yeah,
thank you.
give him
Kudos, kudos.
Thank you very much. Thank you for the time to do this this morning. I really
Thanks for doing it.
The greatest challenges that we face on this film are far different from the challenges we faced on the first one. Because on the first one we had a very, very limited budget, and I was a young and novice filmmaker who was not very well seasoned, being only my second production on my own. I made a decision that the children in the movie should be over the age of 18, playing as if they were younger, with the exception of possibly just one or two scenes where we had a crowd of children filmed very briefly. On this film, I wanted there to be a very large number of children, and I wanted them to be children. And this was my goal. As such, it presented enormous challenges because of all the rules involved with filming children on a movie set. And where we have slightly more resources than we had on the original one, this would still be what one considers to be a low-budget film. So with the limited amount of money, which then means a limited amount of time, the challenges of putting together 80 to 100 children in very many scenes in the movie was enormous. Only but for the fact that I've been doing this for well over 25 years and have over 30 films produced under my belt, is it the case that I could figure out a production agenda that could complete this. It was the most challenging task I've ever undertaken, and I'm happy to say that we met the challenge. This film presented enormous production challenges each and every day. As I would go from day to day and look for the day that was going to be the light day or the day that was going to be the easy day, it just didn't happen. Every single day presented an enormous challenge. From the scenes that should have been very simply done, shooting inside of a car, we had thunderstorms and thunder showers that day, and it made production on those days extraordinarily difficult. More than 50% of the schedule, I'm dealing with about 80 to 100 children. And they're children. And children do what children do. And they don't take direction very well, especially the very young ones. And I made it a point to have a cross age of children. This film has animals, it has stunts, it has special effects, it has children, it has a low budget, and a short and brief shooting schedule. Having produced the original Children of the Corn over 25 years ago, I was excited at the prospect of sitting down speculatively and writing a remake of this so that I could tell Stephen King's story the way I believe he had originally intended it to be told. I'm very happy that I've had the opportunity to do that. It's been an enormous undertaking. I've gone for the last approximately 4 months with an average of about 3 to 4 hours sleep a night, working every single day. I'm physically exhausted. But yet, I don't wake up in the morning because my alarm clock goes off. I wake up in the morning with the enthusiasm of a 4-year-old boy who knows that tomorrow Christmas is coming and Santa Claus is bringing presents.
Cut!
I hadn't seen Children of the Corn before. I was unsure as to whether I was actually going to watch it, because you don't always want to watch another actress's performance. Also, the stories are very different. I think this version is going to adhere a lot closer to Stephen King's original short story. I think that, you know, Linda Hamilton played a character that was a lot more sort of carefree, had a lot less to worry about in her life, and who was a lot more in love. You know, they were at the beginning of a relationship, whereas Vicky and Burt in this are definitely at the end of one.
There's something wrong. Did you feel it?
I've never seen the original Children of the Corn, and I think I even used, when I was a kid, I would, you know, use it as like my go-to. Like, I think I lied about having seen it when I was a kid because it was just such a, everybody's talking about how creepy a movie it was, and like, yeah, it's like, you guys see Children of the Corn? I did. It's creepy, you know, but it's just lying through my teeth. And so I have no idea what Peter Horton did with the character, but I am a huge fan of Peter Horton in Inside Out and 30-something, and I wish I could grow my hair down to the small of my back like he used to have.
The original Children of the Corn, I didn't even get to see all of it when I was a kid because my mom basically came into the room and it was playing on TV and she just shut it off. We were just blocked from watching it, which I guess gets any kid super excited about being able to figure it out, find out what's so scary about it and what's so gross and gruesome. And at the time, Courtney Gaines was terrifying. Now I think I'm a little scarier, but just kidding.
Those were jokes.
You look awesome.
Thanks, babe. The jokes that were the funny and the humor.
You're humongous.
You know, I was really interested in reading about the particular time period that we were filming in, because they did choose to do this as kind of a 70s period piece. And you know, there's definitely that climate of the sexual revolution, and you know, skirts get shorter and women come out of the house, and the Vietnam War happens, and there's more women in the workplace, and there's protests, and there's unrest, and I mean, it's a very kind of charged climate that they're in. And I think anybody at that time, and especially in a relationship like a marriage, that energy kind of permeates everything. She's somebody who's just really questioning, but doesn't know how to deal with that in herself, because her life was supposed to be this way, but it's not, and she blames him for leaving her. But really, I think it's more of a kind of struggle within herself about, you know, how did I get myself into this situation? Why am I in this marriage with this person when the world around me is kind of, you know, exploding?
And action.
Please help me.
Burt is a Vietnam veteran who's just got done with the 2 tours in Vietnam, the second of which he chose to go on. He didn't have to, and which irked his lady back home, Vicky. It was his high school sweetheart, presumably, and just all around doll. She's such a sweetie in this movie. But she's not happy with Burt for taking that second tour, and you know, the marriage was fractured when he made that decision. And you know, when confronted with the Children of the Corn within the Corn, he's got his wits about him, because he's been in the thick of it, in the shit, you know. He holds his own for a while, and but for only a while. So.
Where's my wife? Is she dead?
So it was the will of God down.
Oh, so you enjoyed it?
I think Malachi's a very complex character. I think he's got a lot of inner demons and dealing with a lot of hypocrisy. I think the film definitely deals with elements of religion and the way some people can make religion perverse and how they can, you know, change what something might have meant at one time in order to use it for their own gain and for their own interests, warping religion, warping people's minds, influencing people, using people's beliefs against them. And so I think Malachi kind of inhabits, and he kind of has all of that within the character, you know, trying to keep his sanity, trying to rule his world, his own mind, dominate these kids, and yet so much of the domination is based on, you know, hypocrisy and hating himself for certain things and loving certain things.
That's a kind of a creepy idea, that, you know, the kids take over. They've decided that the adults don't know what they're doing, and are getting them into a world of trouble, and they kind of just get rid of it and get rid of them and take things over for themselves. And I think, you know, I talk to a lot of kids, and I remember having this feeling when I was young, kind of thinking that, oh, you're older, but you're not really all that smarter than me. I think there's kind of that idea somewhere in this script. You know, it's like the children blame the adults for the drought and decide to take things into their own hands. And I think that's a really interesting sort of platform for discussion, definitely.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Thank all of you.
I kind of bent it a little bit
Thank you.
Oregon and Iowa's been interesting. I wasn't that familiar with it. My parents are from Minnesota, so we've driven through Iowa and like Wisconsin and stuff. And I know the area, but everybody's very nice here. You probably hear that a lot from people that come from Los Angeles. Everybody's so nice. They're just so nice here. I mean, you know, people are nice everywhere, but they're just especially nice here.
Iowa's beautiful. Iowa's super beautiful. I'm originally from Georgia, so there's a lot of similarities between the rural countryside, and everything is beautiful, and the people are really cool. It's been pretty laid back, so it's nice. A little spooky, certain little haunted areas.
I've never been to this part of the country before. Everybody is exceptionally friendly, which was not unexpected, but yeah, I'm really glad to have gotten this picture of small town middle America, because, you know, you hear about these states in LA, you know, when Nielsen ratings time comes along, or Sweeps Week, but yeah, it's a different thing to actually experience the culture here, and it's so family oriented, and I can see why people love it.
It's just been fun the entire time, getting covered with blood, getting to run around like a total psychopath and get paid for it. It's every kid's dream, so I'm having a blast. I expect it to be incredible. I expect it to be an awesome, really fun psychological version of Stephen King's original story. I think it's going to be hopefully really terrifying.
I hope it's well received. I hope it's well received by the Sci-Fi Network and whoever distributes it, and of course by the King. I hope it's well received, because I understand the first one wasn't very. He didn't get his approval, because they made like the happy ending and whatever. And I think we're doing a pretty true to his original story. And this film is very true to it, and hopefully we'll get his stamp.
Well, you know, my hope is that it would sort of tell a truer story. than the original, not really trying to please its box office crowds in terms of the happy ending and the sort of happy relationship between these two people, Burt and Vicky. My hope's that it'll tell a story about a relationship, you know. So yeah, I don't know. Does that sounds like so much actor garbage? But that's me.
I thought the biggest challenge was going to be doing a period show on a shoestring budget. So important to have the look right. I mean, from every little detail. And if you have the time and the money to do it, it's easy with you know, multi-million-dollar budget. We are not a multi-million-dollar production, so. We had our challenges for getting the look right to be appropriate for the period. And from my end, I always wanted, I mean, from the moment I read the script and thought about what it meant, I wanted to come up with an iconography about the show. I mean, fill in the backstory. Why are these kids doing this? 85% of our film takes place outside, and we had some challenges actually timing the right. I mean, I didn't know nearly enough about corn, or I didn't have an education in corn until I got here. But corn is only as tall as we needed it to be, meaning over 8 feet tall, at this time of year. So if we'd done it any earlier, the corn wouldn't have been tall enough. And the corn, as soon as it reaches its tallest height, it starts to, like the ears themselves start to mature, and everything starts turning brown as it really starts dying off right before harvest. So we had this window of about 3 weeks where the corn was lush green, and we really, really wanted to sell the fact that lush green, vibrant corn, growing active corn, is the look of this film. So we had to have it in this certain time. So consequently, we had to do all of our driving shots through corn and our kids going into the corn at a very specific time, so that we got that kind of lush feeling.
Cut!
We've had to adapt our story to fit the town of Gatlin. I mean, the town of Lost Nation. In the original novel, there's a chase scene through the municipal hall in this downtown municipal hall. We struggled for finding a place that we could use as a municipal hall. We tossed around building hallways in a studio somewhere, all in the name of keeping it true to the script. And yet, none of that worked for the amount of time we had and so on. And we therefore had to adapt our story and say, well, what is the point of the story? The kids are chasing Burt through town, and we need kind of a labyrinth that he runs through. Let's make it into rooftops and alleyways, and that's what we end up shooting. Overall, I mean, we're sitting in front of a revival tent. That first page of the script, the revival tent, and it was lucky that I found this tent locally. I was ready to sew this thing, like hire a seamstress and buy thousands of yards of fabric and make this thing, and somebody said, I got one of those. You know, I visualized this, and here it is. I think we've done amazing things with more determination and grit than money. The town has been fantastic in providing us with resources. I had a very hard-working art department team, and I really appreciate their efforts. I think we've crammed a $40 million movie into a $2 million bag.
Donald is, for the most part, having us, you know, when there's blood being spilled, the blood of the kids is being spilled, he's having it, have us go a little bit over the top. So every time somebody dies so far, it's been spectacularly bloody, just all over the place. Not just a throat slit, but throat slit with head bashed in and cuts and bruises and scrapes and bleeding from every possible orifice that could be opened up. So they've all been there. There hasn't been a lot of them so far that we've shot already. We still have a couple of heavy days going, but they'll be spaced out there enough. You'll get your money's worth of blood. And they didn't actually hold the casting session for the kids until about 2 weeks before they started shooting, around the 15th or the 17th. We went by the fact that it was Children of the Corn and started building for small kids. However, most of the characters that Burt ends up fighting with were part of what ended up being the Big Boy Gang. Malachi's closest associates, who are these kids who are supposed, they're, you know, under, and some of these actual kids are about 12 to 16 years old, and they're all between 6'2" and 6'4", and weigh good 2 bills, 250 up to 300 pounds. So all this stuff that we did make, because we had about a month, maybe 3.5, 4 weeks to make this stuff, and we were pretty much done with making the appliances, like the throat cutting appliances and things. This is actually the bigger ones. What you see are on a giant buck of the neck. This is a neck of a guy that we work with regularly. He's about 6'4", flashed out. But the original ones were all done on life casts of fairly small women and things, people with smaller, thinner necks. And then we realized that about 2 weeks, week and a half, 2 weeks before we headed out here, he said, oh, we got all these characters. There's not just a big character called Big Boy, they're all big boys, or 5 of them, 6 of them are. So we ended up having to scramble around and make up new positives in order to sculpt up the appliances for a throat cutting, an arm break gag, and a couple of other things in order to fit everything. We had to have a variety of things, and which is good because a couple of the folks that we have killed have been smaller kids, so we had the original size pieces for that. There are flies in here. And the bigger ones for the bigger guys if we should happen to need those. So we got it pretty well covered, but those were the problems, and it was more so in preparation rather than implementation.
Oh, jeez. Does it hurt? It's so painful. It's kind of numbing out though now. Can't really feel it anymore.
I believe that as far as the ratio of CG with practical effects, pretty much all the violence is going to be all practical effects, and most of the CGI is going to be augmenting the imagery as far as putting a proper sky. You know, if the sky wasn't nice enough at a particular sunset, you know, fixing the color of the sky, possibly extending the distance that the corn appears to go in towards the horizon. He Who Walks Behind the Rose will definitely be a CGI fabrication, 3D model that's animated and made to interact with Burt. And also there is an issue where some of our locations were miles and miles apart. For instance, the church was at a completely different place, but it has to be, for at least 1 or 2 shots, dropped into a long shot of the street in this town here, you know, to actually replace the church that's here, and made it to blend in with, so it's obvious when you go down the street, you see the church at one point, so when he walks up to the door, you know where the church is in relation to where their car is parked and where everything else in town is. So it'll just be a lot of tricks like that, matte paintings and things of that nature.
You didn't catch that, did you? No, do it again.
It ought to be really neat. I haven't seen any dailies yet. I'll sit when I go out there sometimes and watch the monitor, and it looks good. From what I've heard, Jamie, the DP, has said that our stuff is looking really nice, very graphic, very gruesome. Don has been very complimentary about how the stuff looks. Hopefully it'll be good. A lot of these kids, I don't think any of them have acted before. Maybe a couple of them have been in school plays. Hopefully, they'll sell what the audience will buy what the kids are trying to sell. And I hope it turns out better than the first one, than the original Children of the Corn. It'd be a nice thing. Hopefully it'll be bloody as heck.
Not much. We're about to destroy the shit out of this car some more. Or destroy the crap out of it. Woo! Yes, destroy the crap out of the car.
You know, I'm just a little concerned with the ones on the left side right there. If you're not
gonna
seeing
bomb
like
this
the
car.
first
It's gonna be
2 or 3
awesome.
people's eyes, then I want the heads turned.
Yeah, little speckles will come off of that shit.
Thank you. It's just saline, a seed. I'm all dried up. Nothing funky in them. All cried out. Okay. Do you want me to pop it open? You want?
I have a bag. Oh yeah, they're right on it.
Well, now they can't use it, Kandyse. Sorry.
I changed my mind. 5'6".
5'6".
Here we go. Pick this up, lock this up.
Throw that up there, mister.
Roll camera up.
Speed.
Hit the ants, guys.
And speed. Set.
Okay.
Set.
And action.
Stop the beating. Thank you, guys. Very good job. Very good job.
5, 6.
Oh no. I'm having trouble too. Okay, well, I'm too, yeah, later.
Came this way.
Maybe it's one of those like child training dolls from high schools. You know, like this is why you shouldn't have a baby.
They should be in the movie, and like there's a noise, and she finds the baby like in the middle of the street,
and her trunk, and then it explodes.
I wonder how you make it stop. It's crying.
Speed bucket. Mark. And sit. Action.
Watch! All of you. You better have more than screwdrivers. Fuck off! Sorry. All right, we can just go from
Cut.
Cut. We better not have more than kitchen knives and screwdrivers, right?
And then I'm just like Steve Martin and Three Amigos. We're like Chevy Chase and Martin Short. They're just fucking, they're dying. And Steve Martin's like, and then he goes, lip bump? Did I get you all?
A little bit.
That was a bit.
Don't get me bloody though.
Bit.
Yeah, you know what?
That's your shoes.
All right, guys. Here we go. Cameras up.
That big kills in Tahoe.
Are you seeing that before? Egg beaters. Justin. Okay, we're gonna go again.
I did yesterday for about 2 seconds. What was I saying? I'm leaving now. I'm gonna go find some people and tell them about what's happening here in Gatlin. I don't think they'll believe me at first. I don't think I believe it myself. But they will. Eventually. You guys all belong in an asylum somewhere. Loony bin. Where are your parents? I asked you a question! Where are your parents? What's happened here? What have you
your
done?
soul to God, for you will stand before his throne momentarily. Cut. Got. Please. Foot forward. For the man to sit on. Pass. Bloody. Well, depends on whose blood.
It's gotta be. If it ain't now, it will be by the time it's done.
I know, and they give him back.
What? You ain't never gonna get that done. I know it may be that he doesn't do it. It's David. Let's try collecting it.
Okay, stand back. Okay, sound rolling?
Sounds good.
Speed. Speed. Come, Mark. And sit. 3, 2, ready? Yep. 3, 2, 1, action. Nice. Cut.
I saw something.
Oh. Muzzle flash. All right, guys, let's check the gate.
Oh my God.
Wow.
It's gonna come for a while. I've got a bubble over here.
Okay, well.
That's a lot of blood.
Why don't you move a trash can over to him or something?
Yep. Oh,
Sounds out.
Corey, paper towels. Come for you.
There's an accident while you're gone, Isaac.
Justin, change it back.
Oh, jeez.
Does it hurt?
It's so painful. It's kind of numbing out though now. Can't really feel it anymore.
So let's not clean them up too much, Becky. We're going to place them in like slowly.
Okay.
How many times have you had to do this, Dan?
Every day for 3 weeks. Fun. Good stuff. And it dries and it sticks to all your hair. So it's like you're getting waxed.
Okay, a lot of these kids have to go to the restroom and they're hot.
So is this guy.
All right, here we go. And fire in the hall, watch your ears, and let's roll cameras. Hey, speed.
B-Speed!
B-speed.
All right, he's still moving. Kevin's still moving.
Copy. Clear.
Okay, you tell me when, TK?
Okay, ready? 3, 2, 1, go!
Bring on this water truck.
Everybody stay back.
Bring on the water truck.
Water truck, Brian.
How'd that look?
They did a good job. Very flammable match. Sick. That's beautiful.
Good job. Did you get the picture?
The rest of what's left
On your phone?
That's so freaking sweet.
Okay. Wrap on our children of the corn. And our boys. That's a wrap on the Hey guys, that's a wrap on Justin Sundquist Stunts. Yeah, we need wildlife. Hey, that's a picture wrap on Alexa Nicholas.
So done, right? My baby. Yeah.
Am I? Yeah, your picture wrap, sir.
Snap! Sweet. I did not know.
I'm not here in the lights. I'm actually gonna stop. Give me a final word.
Word. It's different.